On March 7th, WMXV, we lost a hero. Her name, Danielle D. Benedetto. So find a flag and pop tall and pay some respects for an American hero. The name of the band, Madison Rising.
So proudly we hailed, and the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight. Oh, the red march we won were so gallantly streaming. Get the rocket train, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, traitors that star-spangled banner, yeah, wave for the land under the frame. You're the home of the brave.
She protected the brave. She was the brave. The bravest of the brave. Her name was Danielle D. Benedetto. She was a firefighter, a paramedic, a mother, and a wife. She also was a sister to a brotherhood in Southwest Florida that cannot be matched anywhere in this country. Next, I'll tell you the story about Danielle, where she came from, what she did, and how many lives she impacted. I'll also tell you about Danny'sville. That's right. No firefighter in the state of Florida will ever have to suffer the way Danielle did ever again. Not as long as the Pirate Nation stands, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Will Dan Show, and her name is Danny D. Benedetto.
'Cause we are the brave. Yes, we are the brave. We'll fight you in name, the name of the brave. We are the U.S. of A. For those unaware, that flag is still there. It's our future to save. Stand of the brave, the U.S. of A.
Welcome to the Will Dan Show. It's Tuesday, March the 10th, WMXV. I am the Pirate Hunter, and I want to tell you a special story. Danielle D. Benedetto was born in Sheridan, Wyoming. For many of you, you probably have no idea where that is, but I do, because my baby girl, Victoria, was born in Sheridan, Wyoming. It was one of the first things that bonded me to Danielle. Being a 30-year-old rookie at South Trail Fire Department is not an easy thing. South Trail Fire Department, well, let me put it to you this way. It is a brotherhood and sisterhood like I've never seen before in my life. I've never seen a bond of men and women in a close-knit unit like South Trail. Yes, we had our internal bickerings, and yes, we could pick on one another, but God forbid somebody from the outside picked on one of us. But to get in that brotherhood, well, they make you earn it. Even if you're an 8-year veteran of law enforcement and 30 years old and from the hometown of Fort Myers. At the time, Captain Becker used to be a patient of my dad. So was Jody Payne. My battalion chief, John McMahon, used to referee my middle school soccer games with Bob Shaft, my coach, both who came from New York. There was a bond in that fire department like I've never seen. One of my best friends, Ben Bingston, who's now the assistant chief at South Trail, encouraged me to apply. But he warned me when I did apply, hey, check your pride at the door, because you're going to have to earn the title of firefighter at South Trail. See, when you start there, you're a probie, a probationary firefighter. In fact, I probably never even heard my name for the first 6 months I worked there. And guys that I thought I hated, who I learned to love, like Mike Joyce, Kerry Griffin, Joe Galuzza, Steve Moses, who rode me like an alpaca through the Andes, not because they didn't like me, but they wanted to make sure that I was going to be fit to wear the South Trail badge. Well, one of the people I first met when I moved there was Danielle DiBenedetto. She was my partner on Rescue 63, a paramedic, a firefighter. But what I soon learned about Danielle was amazing. She was a very accomplished hairstylist. Come to passing, she used to do my wife's hair. She had inherited several daughters from her husband Joe when she married him. And then she had a son of her own named Dominic, who now is 13 years old. But Danielle had a very special characteristic about her that most women probably don't have. See, she was kind of like, well, as Christy Knudsen put it, she was our den mother. Oftentimes she refereed bickering between the boys at the firehouse. She was always stationed at 63 House, which housed, well, that's where our administration was. We called it the White House, the big house, where, and Danielle was always in the mix. She always made sure that the boys got along. Every other day or every other week, you'd find her in the communications room with a mock barber shop set up, giving away $5 haircuts to all the boys and making them look handsome as they could be to represent South Trail. But there was so much more to her. Her stained glass art that some of us have in our homes, that we were gracious enough to watch her do on our downtime. Each firefighter finds a different way to decompress. Some ride motorcycles, some fish, some hunt. Well, Danielle's was stained glass. And the stained glass that she made was, well, some of the most beautiful artwork I've ever seen. Her caring passion for the patients that were in her care, but her tough character to be able to stand with the best of the best when it came to fighting fire or a car wreck or a tragedy. I remember when Hurricane Charlie came through, we all had to say goodbye to our families as Southwest Florida was encouraged to evacuate. I remember spending 14 hours with Danielle during that hurricane and how worried we are about our families, but how dedicated we were to serving Southwest Florida. Danielle spent 8 years with Lee County EMS, which is one of the busiest EMS agencies in the country. She decided to go to fire school in 1995. Her classmate Matt Seneca, who now is a lieutenant at South Trail, talks about her tenacity, courage, bravery, and toughness in the academy. But I'll tell you what, there's not a firefighter at South Trail who wouldn't run into a burning building with Danielle or Cindy because, well, they proved their salt. They were ladies amongst men, but they understood how to deal with a group of men. I didn't have the honor of working much with Cindy, but I certainly stood beside Danielle on more than one occasion. I'll never forget the night that Danielle and I ran a call on one of my best friend's father-in-law who was trying to commit suicide. And how Danielle basically talked him off the ledge. I watched her relationship with her son. And every year her Halloween costumes were amazing. She was a gentle soul, but a fiery spirit. She was all that was personified in a rescue hero, with the gentleness of a lady. Trust me, she brought a lot of class to a lot of men who didn't deserve it. In 2014, she was diagnosed colon cancer. No family history. And when I found out about it, I was devastated, but I was reassured by Ricky Martinez and Ben Bankston and Brian Kirkland that, hey, she's a fighter. She's going to make it through it. It's Danielle. It's Danielle. And she did. But then she had a relapse. And on March the 7th, at around 3 p.m., surrounded by her brothers and sisters of South Trail and her husband and her son, Danielle's fight was over. And in the words of Bill Lombardo, the chief of South Trail Fire Department, she was his hero for the way she handled her cancer. But in the course of Danielle's death, I have learned that Florida does not have presumption legislation. What is that? 37 states in this union presume that firefighters who catch cancer during their employment is presumed that they got it from their job. 1 in 3 firefighters will be diagnosed with cancer. Danielle being one of them. No 48-year-old woman should ever have to suffer cancer the way Danielle did. But to have to suffer it and know that the burden of those payments and bills would be on her husband and her family had to weigh heavy on her mind. Well, I'm excited to announce that yesterday I spoke with Halsey Bashir's District 7 representative. A message has been put out to Dane Eagle, representative of Lee County, and Chief Bill Lombardo has spoken to Senator Benequisto. I can promise you this: Florida will be the 38th state who will have presumption cancer legislation. Danny, I love you. God, I miss you. But no one will ever in this state, as long as this microphone is on, ever have to suffer cancer the way she did. The disease is bad enough. But I will make damn sure next year Bill Lombardo and myself will take the hill with brave legislators like Halsey Bashir's and Dane Eagle and Senator Benequisto. And I promise you, Danielle, my final goodbye is this: Danny's bill will get passed. Or I promise you, sweetheart, none of those cowards will ever serve in the Florida legislature again. To South Trail 566, we love you, and we miss you. And on a side note, thanks to engineer John Pinto of South Trail Engine 63, which has now been affectionately named Danielle. To the boys at South Trail, I love you, brothers, and I will always continue the fight for those who fight for us on a daily basis. I love you, Danny. Ladies and gentlemen, today when you see a fire truck or an ambulance or a sheriff's deputy or a Florida highway patrolman, they are laying their life on the line every single day so your freedoms stay intact. You just remember that. And I promise you, this time next year, Danny's bill is going to be legislation. I promise.